40% of American women are the breadwinners in their homes, but 56% of mothers say it's hard to balance work and family. Anne-Marie Slaughter looks at these challenges in her new book, Unfinished Business: Women, Men, Work, Family. Slaughter writes about making the difficult choice to leave her job as the director of policy planning at the State Department, working under Hillary Clinton, for an academic career with more flexibility for her family. She is the president and CEO of New America. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So what is unfinished business?
So unfinished business is the unfinished business of the women's movement. So we've made huge progress in the last 50 years, which is roughly my lifetime, enormous progress, but we're stuck. And we've got, at a good industry, maybe 20% women at the top. In many industries, more like 15 or 10 or 5%. And that's been true for about 20 years. So my point is, if we're going to get to full equality, we've actually got to start doing some things differently. We need to focus less on women and more on elevating the value of care and changing roles and choices open to men.
You write about, in the New York Times, before the book just came out, you wrote about what's called a toxic work world, in which you say that women do not choose to leave their jobs. They are shut out by the refusal of their bosses to make it possible for them to fit their family life and their work life together. Why is this still happening in 2015?
That is a great question, because we used to have a workplace where it was men in the workplace and women at home, and now you have 60% of American women in the workplace and lots of men feeling tremendous tension between work and family. But the workplace doesn't make room for care. Now, some of that is workplaces have been under a lot of competition, right? They have to be leaner, they have thin margins. But my point is, you can't be running a 1950s workplace for a 21st century workforce.
So how do you start to change this, Anne-Marie? Because to some degree it's ingrained in companies, in businesses, in corporations.
Right.
It's obviously ingrained in culture to a certain degree, but how do you shake that up?
Well, you start by just telling businesses how much talent they're losing, which they know. I mean, a lot of businesses recognize the turnover, and particularly turnover among caregivers, which is still majority women. These are all these incredibly talented women that they have trained, they have mentored, they have gotten just to the place where they should be maximally productive, and because they won't make room for care, they're losing them. So that's a start.
I also have to say the book is fascinating because it also deals with what men should be doing,
yes,
and how active men have been in saying, I want paternity leave. I want to be with my kids as well. What are some of the things men and women have to stop saying to bring about this culture change?
Absolutely. So the first thing is, if we're going to talk about working mothers, we should be talking about working fathers. If every time you talked about a man who is a CEO or a manager or in a top position, you said he's a working father, you would suddenly realize, wait a minute, they're fathers just as much as they're workers. And second, we should get rid of stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads. You should talk about lead parents, because that's what you're doing. You're there, you are the available parent, you're the lead parent, the one who can be there when your kids need you, whether you're a man or a woman. And often you're working also, but you're the lead parent.
Inherent in that, do you have to appoint someone in the relationship then? Do you feel like that's an important part for all of us?
I do. I mean, that can switch, right, over the course of a couple's lifetime. Absolutely, it can switch. But I think it's very important to recognize, particularly when your kids get older, because you can outsource a lot of care when they're little. When they are teenagers and they need a parent, somebody has to be there. And it's not going to be when you want to talk. So I think it is important to say in a couple, right now, you're going to be lead parent and I'm going to be lead breadwinner, and we may well switch off.
You make the point that with millennials, in many cases, these sort of traditional roles don't hold, that they're not subscribing to this.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, what's interesting is millennial men, most of them do not believe in traditional gender roles. Most of them were raised by mothers who were working also. Yeah. When they get into the workforce, they're finding that they're being forced into traditional gender roles because they don't get paternity leave or flexibility. And when they take it, their masculinity is questioned, much less their commitment to their career. So they're starting to push and to say, wait a minute, both of us ought to be able to have both.
Anne-Marie Slaughter, thank you for continuing the conversation and the debate. We appreciate it. And Unfinished Business goes on sale Tuesday.